Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be, and a warm welcome to this very special broadcast, Open Up. Today's guest is Jude Dholah, a seasoned personal growth trainer. First off, my name is Dipchan Ramcharita. I'm the Outreach and Development Coordinator here at Voice of Men 360. Our organization, Voice of Men 360, is based in London, Ontario, Canada. And our primary objective is to seek the interests of men and boys. We also reach out to other demographics wherever possible. As I said, our esteemed guest today is Jude Dholah. He is, with his work, has propelled many individuals to attain their personal milestones and realize their dreams. Before I introduce you to Jude, I would just like to run through our disclaimer. We would like to remind you that Voice of Men 360's mission is always delivered with good faith towards peaceful harmony. The views and opinions expressed in today's episode are those of our speakers and do not necessarily represent Voice of Men 360. Our organization engages in discussion forums to offer inspiration and create awareness of the issues of men who wish to overcome their life challenges. We are not providing medical or therapeutic advice. Should you require that type of assistance, we recommend you contact a medical professional immediately. If you have any questions or concerns about today's episodes or any Voice of Men 360 content, please email us at info@voiceofmen360.org. So on with the show and let's dive in. So a warm welcome to Jude Dholah. Jude, let's go get right to it. First of all, tell us briefly a bit about your business as you introduce yourself.
Good evening, Chan. Thank you for having me. I'm really grateful to be here and happy to share. And did you have your first questions?
Yeah, tell us briefly about your business.
I run a coaching business. I focus on helping individuals, men and women, but individuals, understand themselves a little more. Traditionally, I believe when you have coaching, people look at strategies. I believe we have to start with the person, the individual. I help people reach their goals in a nutshell. But it's about understanding who we are and why we do those things that we know we shouldn't be doing, that will take us away from our goals, and why we do not do those things that we know we can do, we know how to do, that will take us to our goals. It's a question of programming. So I'll keep it at that.
Excellent. So secondly, what inspired you to become a life and business coach?
I have to look back. This journey started 18 years ago, 2006. I was in a job where things were not going too well all of a sudden, I should say. And I was drawn to coaching as a business, as a coach, because I experienced really first-hand impact, profound impact that mindset shifts can have on an individual, on fulfillment, achieving goals. I saw what it did for me, and I thought, I wanted to help others overcome the same struggles that I faced. And how do I know other people were facing struggles? It's because I could hear what they were saying, see what they were doing, and I could see myself. It's exactly what I was doing before I really got the guidance and the coaching. So it's very rewarding for me to see somebody really unlocking their potential. They become authentic, and I believe authenticity is missing in the marketplace, if you agree.
Absolutely. Was there a serendipitous moment? Was there something that really jolted you forward in this mission, or was it something that sort of gradually grew on you?
I started that when I was working. I was a credit manager. I was working for Campbell Soup, the Campbell Soup company, and I saw that how these ideas, these coaching ideas, were improving my work, my relationship at work, and our results. So it's gradual, I have to say. And in 2016, that's when I quit the corporate world and I started my business itself. And I was coaching before without having an actual business, if you will. I was helping others around me. Yeah.
I see. So, why do you think it's important to showcase men's mental health more than ever?
I think really more than ever. I think people in general, but men face a unique set of challenges. You know, there's so many expectations from society, pressures around success, around earning money, around you know becoming somebody who we are not really. And but sometimes we don't know how to deal with our emotions. And boys who become men, we are just big boys, really.
Yeah.
There's a stigma that makes it hard for men to openly discuss their emotions, their issues. In other words, mental health. Because I believe if we look at society, boys and girls are raised differently. Um, us boys, we are supposed not to show emotions, not to cry, not to show weakness. And I believe asking for help is not a weakness at all. Actually, it shows confidence. But you're saying, why is it important? Um, I believe, we are looking to normalize these conversations about, help, about understanding, and it also reduces isolation. I mention isolation because, you know, you don't have to be alone to be lonely,
True.
right? And I think there's a lot of lonely people out there, and it's my observation, but more importantly, what's been discussed in the news, and that is a problem in mental health today.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
One of the things I think that's, as you mentioned, it's a bit unique for men. And if you go back in time, I guess it's sort of inherent in men and also molded by society.
Yes.
This idea that, we are the providers and protectors, roughly, overall, and if we are in those roles and we show any sort of vulnerability, it will lessen people's perception of us as leaders,
Yes.
and the ones that carry the mantle. So we sort of stifle it in within
Hmm.
until it sort of it festers and festers and sort of explodes in a traumatic negative way in a lot of times.
Yes.
And the other side of that coin, I think, is even though there's outpouring of people out there, willing men on to come up and say what's on your mind. Um, I think the one of the issues with that is when men do, from experiences, they're looked down as weak,
Yes.
and that's so you're caught in a sort of catch 22.
Hmm.
You're
Hmm.
willing to look for help, see whatever you can find out there to help you, but on the other hand, the minute you do in society, you're looked down on. And I think one
Like
of
as
the
weak.
yes, one
Yes.
of the things what men do is that if they have a buddy, for example, they would confide in that buddy a little bit, and hopefully that would help them in some little way. But as an overall means of getting your message out there and trying for people to understand what you're dealing with, I think men are still very reluctant. I'm not sure if have you seen any progress in terms of men willingness to come out and share their story.
You said a good word, vulnerability. I mean, we believe, and that's ingrained in us, right?
Yes.
I mean, there are some strategies that are available to everybody, and I think of things like the story we tell ourselves about who we are, about our potential, about what we're doing here, whether people will like us. These are stories that we put in our mind that are not true, right? And one thing I want to mention is people pleasing. We don't
Yes.
say no because we are not. We are thinking, well, what if they reject me? What if they don't accept me if I say no? In fact, I believe we train people to not say no to them. And if one, at a given point of time, you have people asking you this or that, and you say no because you have something important, urgent that you're attending to for yourself, they may not be happy because they've been trained to you always saying yes, always agreeing with them, right? There's a something that a doctor, I don't know if you know of Dr. Gabo Mate.
Yes, I've
He's,
heard of it.
yes, he says emotional suppression, and this is I think I use the word big. He says emotional suppression can lead to diseases like autoimmune disorders among others. And I think what is missing in our, I will use the word education, in our habits is self-reflection. We don't do that.
No,
Um,
it's true.
Most people don't, right? We don't take time to assess where we are, where we're going. It's like this is a good friend that we should really take a look at. We sit down with ourselves, from time to time, even if it's once a month. It's a good habit to have, and I think it's a good thing to do it on a weekly basis. And we should start to. I don't know if this answers your question, but I think we should start to stop hesitating to ask for guidance, for help, and um, and this is also part of self-reflection. We want to stop regretting the past. We spend too much time in the past, and we we mope in it. We want to let go of the past because everybody has baggage. Everybody has something that didn't work, but we don't want to keep going back there and keep talking about it. We want to learn from the past, in my opinion, and release it, right? We cannot change what's happened, but at the same time, this will allow us to stop worrying about the future. We live in the past, worrying about what happened, talking about it, and we worry about what can happen in the future, although the future is unknown, right?
Right.
If we do that, if we stop doing that, this will allow us, really give us the okay, give us permission to really trust ourselves. You trust yourself to handle whatever is in front of you. You leave the noise behind because actually, I think the past is there's a lot of lessons in the past of what not to do,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And when we do that, I want to add something else here, maybe a last thought. I'm thinking of, we want to stop looking for happiness in other people. I
Excellent
used to
point.
think I used to think it's my wife that makes me happy. I was mistaken, right? It's if I don't have the happiness, if I don't have it in me, I will never be happy around anybody. So I think mental health also covers that feeling of small. I need them. I need them. Of course, we know we all need each other, but we make
Right.
ourselves too small. There's easy ways to get out of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This leads us actually the upcoming question is sort of answered by this last answer that you gave. We were looking at overall strategies that men should adopt, in their personal life. So we've discussed mental health and things that they can do. Now, do these strategies apply to their personal lives, their relationships, and other things as well?
Well, absolutely. I I like to say we have one life: personal, professional, friendship, everything, right? And when we talk about strategies, and I like to think of things in this way: we need strategies, but we also have the right mindset, and some strategies for personal, professional well-being is, I think, one key qualities, if you will, or concept is resilience. Um, resilience helps us, navigate setbacks. Sometimes something fails and we let that put us down and keep us down. And I think resilience is one thing, and also adaptability, because adaptability partners with resilience, if you will. It allows us to handle setbacks and change, and whatever kind of change, constructively. Because if we are not resilient, we go down very fast and we don't get up.
Agreed.
And
I
at,
think,
yes.
sorry, continue.
And at the same time, I think if we are resilient, we are adaptable, and it's important, we need integrity. I believe I was saying earlier, integrity is missing. Not that people are bad people, but we are not taught. When I say integrity, really, Dipshan, what I'm saying is what we say, what we think, what we say, and what we do. If it's in congruence, all three, that's integrity. Because if you observe people, even in the workplace, people will say something, and you can tell they don't believe what you're saying, and they do something totally different. And that's how people don't trust other people, because there's a lack of integrity. But again, you can't say these are bad people. They may be suffering in a certain area that
Right.
this is their way of coping. They show up in a way that it's not them, right?
Yeah, I think those three are key towards personal growth in anybody: resilience, integrity, adaptability. They all, as you say, congruent, they go hand in hand and really
Yes,
propels one forward to achieve success and
absolutely.
happiness. And
Absolutely.
so we have a critical question coming up here. How does one balance factors such as their natural abilities and current circumstances with developing personal growth so as not to risk burnout or negative outcomes? You have, you know,
I'm going to ask you to repeat the question. It's a long question.
Yeah. So, how does one balance factors such as their natural abilities and current circumstances? How do you balance those with developing personal growth so as not to risk burnout? Like, you know, in other words, if you in a program that is for your betterment, um, at what point would it be pushing you too far to achieve what you, in other words, would end up with a negative impact on you? How do you balance that?
I think balance, well, balance is very important, of course, but I think balance is essential, and it starts with self awareness. You know, awareness is key. I mean, recognizing our natural strengths helps us work, toward our goals, toward what we need to do, work smarter and not harder, because I believe hard work is overrated, and it can lead to burnout. Because what do we work hard at things that are not working well, right? If something is working smoothly, we don't have to work hard on it. Now, if something is not working, we keep working harder and harder, and we don't see a solution because we're saying to ourselves it's not working, and that can lead to burnout.
Right.
Um, and I think we want to also to address that question. I think we want to create habits and routines that really align with what we're looking for. I could say with the lifestyle that we're looking for, rather than pushing too hard. Why creating habits and routines? Because we're already wired in a certain way. We already have routines that drives our behavior. We always have habits that we are into. We're not even aware of our habits. We just go through the day, just behaving in a certain way. Self awareness is a way of saying, okay, let's take a step back and take a look at what we're doing. But we don't take the time. We're too busy. We're too busy being busy. We don't question ourselves. We don't take the time to say, okay, let me see what's working and what's not working. And sometimes we can't do it by ourselves because it's not something what we are used to, but we can always ask for help. We can always ask for somebody who we know how. I mean, it's only right to ask a question to somebody if you want to solve a problem. if you know they have the answer.
Of course.
But creating the right habits and routines, I believe, is a way of balancing our the natural abilities, if you want, because we are programmed to behave in a certain way. We don't even have to think to do quote unquote. And by revisiting those habits that we have and those routines, we can kind of get a little more balance, if you will.
Yeah.
And again, regular check-ins. I mean, we have goals, and we have to have goals, because if we don't have a goal, and a lot of people don't have goal consciously, that is, a goal is giving us a direction, a target to shoot at. Without goals, we could say we are like in a ship without a rudder. We're just drifting. And I don't know if you would agree. A lot of people are just drifting,
Yeah.
not knowing where we're going.
Yeah, you're right about that. You gotta have goals, and then you have to have, a sense of awareness as to
Absolutely. Yeah.
your circumstances, your abilities,
Awareness.
and even though you're willing to push yourself, you have to realize that we all have certain limitations, and
Absolutely.
we have to consider that it shouldn't prevent us from moving forward, but it's something we should have at the back of our mind as we do move forward.
Exactly. Self-awareness will do that. It's key.
Absolutely. So, concerning your programs, the programs that you offer,
Hmm.
how do they support men in building meaningful relationships? Like maybe a spouse, a partner, whatever, with their children, and with the society in which they live in. How do your programs support
Yeah.
things like
I
that?
mean, as I like to say, we have one life: personal, professional, home life, and it's all one. We live through all of them during every day, the whole day. In my coaching program, I what I emphasize is connection, and that word again, authenticity, right? We start in when I work with somebody, we start by developing a sense of self, a strong sense of self, so that we individually understand our values, if you will. Um, Sometimes you ask somebody what are their values, they don't know. Now we have to identify all of that before we do anything. I really am not for the approach in coaching of let's go look at strategies because we have things to do. Before strategy, we have to take a look. I believe this is how I work at ourselves. Who is going to implement those strategies? Who is going to be able to implement? What do we believe? Are we going to see?
Yeah.
And we have to understand our values, and sometimes if we don't know what these values are, we start brainstorming, and that I help people do that. And that allows us to understand what also we bring to the table in relationships, at work, and in everything that we do, right?
For
i
sure.
believe I believe meaningful relationships come from really the foundation has to be shared values, openness, respect, not just at work, but also with our spouse, children, as you were mentioning, the family. I mean, we have to keep carrying. We do. Once we understand those principles, those concepts, we carry them everywhere. We don't have to think about it. It's who we become. You see, my programs is really the transformation of who does the person have to become to do what they want to be doing, and that is it's designed to help people. And if we're talking about men, so men, it's designed to help us nurture those qualities in life, personal or professional, or both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. We
Yeah.
certainly need to do that. Moving on, what qualities do you suggest young men adapt for their personal and professional well-being as they approach adulthood? And by young men, I mean basically, let's say your teenage years.
Yes. You know, there's many qualities, but it's the lack of awareness that upbringing, the upbringing of most people, most children, is not helping them in who they become. I think we mentioned these qualities earlier. I think again they want to learn to. We want to show them, help them how to become resilient, and I think we mentioned adaptability and integrity. I think these keep coming up. These keep coming up for advancement, for and humility,
Right.
recognizing that everyone has something that to teach us, to keep us grounded, open to growth. Children are,
Yes.
are good teachers as well. I think openness, and vulnerability is key. I mean, it's not a weak word. We want to be vulnerable and open. You know,
Yes, we do. We
yeah,
have, yeah, for young men, they certainly need guidance because, I mean, when you're in those, you consider those like your rebel years. You need some sort of guidance to bring you back on track because
yes,
if you
yes,
don't have the right guidance, you tend to drift, and it could have severe repercussions later on in life. So we need to have that sort of a temperament. We need to have that sort of assistance from maybe an elder or a family member. If you're a religious person, maybe the church, whatever that might be. But
yes,
there's someone there to sort of guide you along in
yes.
the
And
process.
it's foundation has to be trust. You
Yes,
know,
trust is key.
yes, it has to be trust. I mean, this young man who's asking for help,
Yeah,
sometimes they don't know they need help, so they don't ask.
right.
But they have to when they get the guidance, they have to trust the person who's giving them the guidance, and the trust has to be mutual.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you a question. I don't know if you would have any suggestions, but I'm just gonna ask it, and if you do, well, you can throw it out there for us. Given your overall experiences with your job, with life, etc., what legislative changes would you like to see implemented that would potentially benefit men and, by extension, society?
I think you're right. I've never really paid attention or given any thought about legislation, but I believe we could benefit from policies that make I will use the word therapy or
Yes.
support. You know,
Right.
policies that make these available and to support groups and make it accessible, if you will. And for men, I believe it's there for women, if I'm not mistaken. But I think for men, more flexible working conditions is another area because I believe it's important that we take a role in the nurturing of the family. It's not just the role of the woman,
Yeah.
right? And I believe if we are taking active roles in the family, it gives us validation. It gives us a sense of accomplishment, a sense of contributing, and I believe legislation can help with that. But additionally, I think educational reform, because I believe, as I say, we are big boys. We go to school, we learn, and we memorize, we pass the test, and we go out in the marketplace to work. But we don't really know who we really are actually. I think educational reforms that teachers promote emotional intelligence, for example, for boys, teenagers, could set a strong foundation for healthier adult lives. But when I say education, what I'm saying, Chan, is people must we must help the young because I mean, if we start with the teenage boys, for example, we help them understand what they want. What do you want is a big question, and why do you do those things that you're doing, and what makes you not do those things that you know you should be doing. I mean, like we help them rewire the way they think and get them to be more emotionally connected with themselves, and
Right.
that is missing in our educational system.
Right. I think too. One of the things is that men, young boys, growing into young men, are sadly, like universities, colleges, etc. It's now like a 65-35% men are lagging behind in education. I don't think they're given a fair deal in the family courts and things like that. So
Mm,
there are areas, there are gender-based affirmative action programs that don't benefit men,
mhm.
things like that. So I think there are areas that we can advocate on behalf of men. We think it's justifiably so that we can advocate on these areas that I've mentioned. I'm sure there are others as well.
Yes.
That needs to be addressed. Others that need to be addressed. So
Yeah.
overall, I think there is work to be done to raise men's level to somewhat of a level playing field. So, uh,
Absolutely.
having said that, I have one more question for you. But before I do, I have some contact information about our group. We have, first of all, our phone number is 226-289-8784. Our email address is info@voiceofmen360.org. Our website is www.voiceofmen360.org. You can find us on pretty much all social media. We have a Facebook group page. You can join our group to see what our daily activities are. And please invite your friends as well. We have other social media platforms such as Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok.
Everywhere.
Please subscribe. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Voice of Men 360. So, Jude, a final question. If you would want to give some personal business information out, rather, about how anyone interested can contact you.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely, Dipchan. I mean, I have the traditional ways of contacting me. My phone number is, it's not on the screen, but it's 438-862-2328. I'll repeat that in a minute. And my email address is, if I write it in the chat, it doesn't, nobody sees it, right? Just you and I.
I would think so. I'm not sure though.
Okay. Okay. I'm on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram. My website is my name, judedholah.com. And on there, you will get the information from everything that I was just mentioning. On judedholah.com, you'll find my phone number, 438-862-2328. My email address is jdholah@gmail.com. And Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, it's all also there. I think the best bet is to go to judedholah.com. It's easier, I
Okay.
feel.
Okay, excellent. Well, on behalf of Voice of Men 360, I would like to thank you very much for this very informative and meaningful session. I think this was wonderful. A lot of good information was shared, and we want to thank you very much for making this special program even more special. So, again, thanks very much, Jude.
Absolutely. Ripshan, I am honored to be here. I'm happy to be here. And thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So, for all of you out there who are tuned in, thank you so much for joining us. We certainly appreciate your audience. And I want to say now to everybody out there, have a good evening, good morning, good night, wherever you are. Thank you.